Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and before I get going, I want to remind everybody about my sponsor, Glint. You can buy gold in your Glint account, and you can get a MasterCard debit card, and you can actually have spendable gold. It's one of my hedges. Right now, they gave me a DAI V50 referral code. You can get 50% off vaulting and insurance fees for the next 12 months if you're a new customer, and that is still good until the 14th of July. So the link will be in the top of the description on this video. Now, check out this Congressman, Senator Mark Warner, saying, I don't think we should fully decouple with China.
Since China just now, but we've been talking per se about China. I just want to get your opinion on this. We had Senator Rick Scott on, who points out that the Taiwan issue seems to be maybe, are we getting closer in your view to where we have to face something like that? And what do our multinationals do? What should they be doing now? Because if it did happen, you saw what happened with Ukraine, they just had to cut ties, basically. Is that on the horizon? Should it be done preemptively?
I don't think it should be done preemptively, and I don't think we should fully decouple with China. There are things like climate change and others we've got to work with them.
They're not working with anything. The way this works is China doesn't do anything about climate change, if you even believe in that. And in the U.S., we're supposed to shut down all of our coal plants and all of this, but they don't do anything. That's called giving them a strategic advantage, and guys like this aren't going to do jack squat about it. Now, speaking of China, last night, Mr. Intuitive did his Troomers, episode 4 of his Troomers show, All Roads Lead to China. Listen to this. The guy talking is Brian Costello, who this guy is plugged into what's been going on with the Chinese invasion of the United States. Listen to this.
I wasn't shocked when they cleared the way for Ether because they wanted to create, and I think a lot of people conflate these two things and they can be unrelated, right? They wanted to clear the path for the China IPOs. They needed to not reveal China frauds because they needed to keep the door open. They didn't make sure there was regulatory clarity on Bitcoin and Ether because a lot of the stuff they thought would go public was, hardware infrastructure related that would also run blockchain technology. As Wall Street and the financial markets and payments and all this stuff got overhauled with the underlying blockchain technology, which they kind of believed in. So they needed to cover up China frauds. They needed to make sure there was a clear path. And this is the way their friends on Wall Street were going to make money, and they were going to get their quid pro quo going back in the private sector. So it's very clear. Like, I don't think anybody would kind of argue this. In the meanwhile, China had all its stuff going on, and one of the guys that was driving the Chinese digital currency strategy was Neil Shen from Sequoia. He was pitching through this important Chinese body, this whole idea of, Hong Kong should have its own currency, China should have all of Asia, they should have a basket coin that converts, and that was kind of covered in 2020, I think pretty well. And so my theory, and this is my theory, is that on Clayton's way out, I believe there were some seriously things done wrong there, and everybody wanted to go after Trump world, and he was worried, and that this whole, file the suit on his way out the door, there were no intentions of doing it. I mean, everybody said him and...
By the way, this Brian's theory was that Clayton filed the Ripple lawsuit in order to keep Elizabeth Warren and those people from coming after Jay Clayton. But I heard that by the end of this whole Twitter Spaces, the cool guy actually told me that Brian Costello had begun to change his tune and thought that it was much more nefarious by the end of listening to people like Jimmy Valley and what had really gone on.
Hinman kind of pushed it. I still don't know exactly why. Hinman would have been pushing.
Look, let me tell you what I think. I think there's a good chance. I mean, remember, you've got to understand, when people do, the part of the way that the Communist Party of China does business is they want our business people and our politicians to come over there to China and to because once they can get them to China, they've got all their hotels videotaped, wired. I've always heard that if you go over there, that the first thing they want to do is get you drunk. The next thing they want to do is get you in a compromising situation and have it on video, then they can blackmail you. I've always wondered if it was possible that that's what they did to Clayton and Hinman. Because remember, they were close enough with these guys over there that they helped take Alibaba public. Wouldn't that be a logical thing for the Chinese to do, is to at least attempt to blackmail those guys? I mean, I don't have any evidence of that. I've always wondered if maybe that was a possibility, not just with them, but with half of our government.
But ultimately, that's Clayton's decision. I mean, Clayton voted with 2 Democratic commissioners on the way out the door. So you can only conclude one thing from that he was appeasing Democrats. And the only place the Democrats haven't gone after the Trump administration is at the SEC. And I was told by someone, and I'm actually told Clayton hates Gensler now, that he's not happy with him, from someone that actually has talked directly to Clayton. And so I know that the chair of the SEC, Gensler, and this is through someone that had a direct conversation with him, was told to go soft on China. So he gets his marching orders from the administration, right, from the White House and Treasury.
All right, I put out 12 minutes of the entire clip of him. It's on my Twitter feed. It's worth the listen. Now, Laura Shin is going to be, remember, anytime you want to do an interview, if you want a softball interview, go to Laura Shin. She's not going to ask the whole time ETHgate was going on, she even wrote a book and didn't include anything about ETHgate in her Ethereum book. The whole book was on Ethereum, and she didn't include it. We were asking her if she was going to cut. Nope, didn't do it. She does layups for people because she's a part of the machine. And so now she's going to have this Prometheum CEO on, and she wanted to know what she should ask him. So I provided her, ask him about this. And Eleanor, and then this guy says, here, ask him about Vitalik Buterin being an owner in Wang Zhang Holdings. Ask him, and I said, also ask him about this. You remember this.
Mr. Kaplan, what percentage of your company is owned by a Chinese entity?
I think approximately 20%.
20% of it. How much influence do they have over your company?
They have the same rights as other shareholders.
How much access do they have to intellectual property?
Wang Zheng has no access to any Prometheum code or technology or system, server, or customer data.
If they're on the board of directors and have access to all your data from the standpoint of being an investor, how do you answer that question like that?
The bylaws were changed in the filing that was filed with the SEC on November 2021, and they basically limit who has access to data, including directors.
Okay, where is the data stored right now?
In the United States.
The third advantage is on the tech side.
Same guy.
Prometheum's lead investor and technical co-founder is Shanghai Wanzheng Blockchain. And basically, we have 50 plus blockchain engineers working on the Prometheum project. Shanghai Wanzheng Blockchain is considered the preeminent force when it comes to blockchain engineering talent in the world, and they're really our partner. They're not a third-party service provider. They're a co-founder of this company. Their vice chairman, Dr. Shao, sits on our board, and we work with them hand in hand. And with their expertise, we've been able to rock and roll. And we're going to be demoing for FINRA, we anticipate, next month of our ATS and our blockchain, which we hope will then lead to a quick approval and being live before the end of the year.
So I told Laura Shin to ask him about this. Of course, Laura Shin will not ask him about any of that. Also, I decided to, remember the SEC is for the purpose of protecting investors, but the problem is, I finally realized what the problem was, is that they need some wording added. We have stayed true to our mission of protecting investors. See, they need to specify American not Chinese investors. So I added it in there. I'm sure they'll change it now. Then we've got Perry Ann Boring from the Digital Chamber of Commerce, who said this.
Well, we think it's political that one has not been approved. We've done a deep study of the industry's attempts to bring a spot Bitcoin ETF to market, which spans a 10-year history. And through our analysis and our review of all of these applications over the past decade, is the SEC keeps moving the goalpost of what the industry needs to do in order to bring a spot Bitcoin ETF or any spot crypto ETF to market. We have documented how the SEC is holding Bitcoin to a completely different standard than other commodity market ETFs. We believe it is in the best interest of retail investor protection to bring a spot Bitcoin ETF to market now. There's no reason to continue to hold this up. We are encouraged to see this new round of companies up.
Okay. And then we've got this. And this is Representative Bill Huizenga, who is, really asking the tough questions. But I said here, this is the General Counsel of Gary Gensler's SEC, and he's asking all these tough questions. But I say here, it doesn't matter if there's no real consequences. It doesn't matter what you say to these people.
Is it true that the SEC employees in the Office of Intergovernmental and Legislative Affairs have prior experience in congressional oversight and investigations?
I can't listen to it because it's all a dog and pony show. Representative Huizenga, if that's how you say your name, until these people face real consequences like prison time, losing their job, something, nothing's happening. It's all a dog and pony show, and I have to question whether Congress is involved in the dog and pony show and knows that nothing's going to happen. Now, I'm not going to show you this whole thing, but I want to just remind everybody, because I meant to put this after the Perry and Boring thing on Bitcoin ETF. John McAfee told you the truth a long time ago.
Nobody will use Bitcoin anymore. It's old, clunky, slow, expensive, with zero privacy. Nobody uses it. It's a piece of shit.
I'm not going to play the whole thing, but to watch that Bitcoin maxi squirm was classic. Now, I want to set this up for you. I put out a tweet about this, but I think that I confused people. I want to make sure everybody understands. Back before the Ethereum free pass, okay? Well, look at the Ethereum free pass. Who was it that engineered it? Jay Clayton went over to Andreessen Horowitz. Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures were the two venture capital firms that headed up what became the Ethereum free pass. Well, later on, who was it that was bragging about shorting XRP? It was Mike Novogratz. This is right in the middle of all this. Mike Novogratz and the two guys from Multicoin Capital. We later found out one of their names was Kyle Samani. The other one was Tushar Jain. We later found out from their own words that Andreessen Horowitz and Union Square Ventures were limited partners in Multicoin Capital. Just so happens the Multicoin Capital guys go out and start saying, yeah, we're shorting XRP. We just don't understand it. They're also saying we're shorting it because we think it might be called a security. And remember, Mike Novogratz also, he bets dimes to donuts literally days before the Hinman speech that they'll say Ethereum was a security, but it's not now. Those two guys are out bragging about shorting it because they think it's going to be called a security too. They just happen to have two limited partners that are behind the scenes meeting with the SEC. Kyle Samani is one of the guys at Multicoin Capital. I bumped into this clip. Listen to this. Because I always wondered, where did they short it and who shorted it? Was it just the guys talking about it?
That, and also there's quite a tight connection between them and Multicoin.
They do a lot of the same trades, basically, and they both were long a lot of the different things that Sam Bankman-Fried was into.
They do a lot of the same trades. He's referring to A16Z and Multicoin Capital. They trade together is the way he was basically saying it.
few years. Yeah.
When I interviewed,
they were really like high quality pump and dumps, like very good chance to make some money.
Carl Samani was like interview 8 or something, wasn't he? On the podcast?
Very, very early.
Sorry. That's why I was a crypto guy back then, and we had our time. And I'm pretty sure I interviewed him within the A16Z office. I think A16Z were one of their LPs.
Could be.
Yeah,
yes,
probably.
I think there's a deep connection between the two.
Yeah, I know for sure that Kraft is a...
All right. I just wanted you to hear that because I've always wondered if there was something more nefarious going on, and I don't have proof of it. Speaking of nefarious, Mr. Huber's over the top of it. Remember yesterday when they said J.P. Morgan was fined like $4 million because they deleted 47 million emails? They deleted 47 million emails from early 2018. That would have been right around the time of when that Ashley Prosper had done a Freedom of Information Act request for emails between J.P. Morgan and SEC over the potential of them being involved in the Ripple lawsuit or the Hinman emails or any of that. And I asked, isn't this when she did the Freedom of Information Act request? She says, I'm sure some of the deleted emails relate to their communications with the SEC about Ripple. Luckily, I can still obtain them from the SEC. The court case will launch beginning of July. Then we've got this. Crypto.com gains regulatory license to provide crypto services in Spain. And then Ripple did a thread on CBDCs yesterday. Adoption of CBDCs continues to grow, with many of the world's largest central banks planning to pilot and launch their own digital currencies to complement existing fiat currencies. Some examples include the Central Bank of Montenegro recently revealed a pilot project for CBDC with Ripple. In Brazil, Central Bank has announced its plans to launch CBDC in 2024. Digital Currency Monetary Authority has announced the Universal Monetary Unit, a digital coin designed to accelerate cross-border transactions. These examples demonstrate that the future of money is digital. Discover how the transformation from fiat to digital offers lower costs for basic financial services. All right. Anyway, it's coming. Now, folks, I had somebody, I won't say who, I received a text. I'll read it to you just now. I received this text about, and the backdrop is 10 minutes ago, I had this thought that just popped into my head that today would be the end of the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. I received this text 10 minutes later. True story. I had a dream last night that today was the day. Now look, we don't talk psychic stuff on this channel, but that's a true story. All I'm telling you is that really happened. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family that a source close to Jay Clayton says that Clayton hates Gensler now, and a source close to Gensler says he was told to go soft on China by the current administration. These are deep inside sources. We have them. We don't have them. Brian Costello says he had an inside source or a source close to those guys. Thanks for listening.